Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It's your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing. Today, we're discussing a rarity, a watch that's easy to love and uncommon in the wild. The Zenith Elite hand-wound Ultra Thin. 40 millimeters in diameter in stainless steel, the watch is only 7.3 millimeters thick and from lug tip to lug tip, 47.8 millimeters with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. One of the reasons this watch is so thin is because it is a manual wind. With the winding bridge and the rotor system removed, the watch can be as slender as a manual wind, and it's low enough that it'll fit underneath any kind of a cuff. Now, it is a large watch for a dress watch at 40 millimeters, so I'm going to recommend it for a wrist of 15 centimeters circumference or larger. My wrist, again, for reference, is 16, easily sliding underneath the cuff. Here's your over the top, and then one more time, you're down the barrel shot. Taking a look at the strap, it matches the watch. It's a particularly high-grade cut of large rectangular scale alligator leather. You know that because the scales are both very large and very regular. You can see that is true on both sides. This was a very good cut. Zenith and its product planners spent some money here. There's rubber inlay on the underside, so the sweat, heat, grit, and moisture of the wrist doesn't degrade the leather. It also allows for a very comfortable feel against the wrist. You can see this is a brand new Zenith factory strap, and that the sides are actually folded. Though they look sheer, this is not a sheer cut side. It's actually folded for some elegance. It's a semi-gloss finish with a monotone stitch. We have a simple Zenith pin buckle with a Zenith star. You can see it as the Zenith maker's mark on the opposite side. And then we have a case with a subtle contrast of satin finished lug hoods, a polished case flank, and then a polished and relatively shallow conical bezel. You can see that this watch uses a trick often employed by watch designers, which is to actually sink the bezel below the hoods of the lugs so the watch can be thinner. It also allows the lugs to have a nice full form. Imagine having to cut the lugs off at this seam right here. That's what would happen if we didn't sink the lug below the peak, or rather sink the bezel below the peak of the lug. So you manage to get a very full form to the lug, but also a thinner watch than if you simply extended the case band up to where the edge of the bezel currently is and then stuck the bezel on top of that. There's an integration of lug and case band, which is a nice old school 1930s design ethic, and you can see that the ends of the lugs are satinated and squared off. We have a Zenith star on the crown, and then a dramatically cambered box section sapphire that's no doubt intended to evoke a vintage plexiglass. The dial is a lovely silver white, a matte finish. We have all transferred numerals rather than applique, again, to make it all thinner. We do have an applied Zenith star, though, so it's a little bit of finery. We have Dauphine hands for the seconds, hours, and minutes, and you can see they're of high polish and faceted down their center for better contrast. Flip it all over, and you can see why this watch is called the hand wound, and also why it is so thin. The winding system and the rotor are gone, bereft of that extra thickness. This movement is exceptionally svelte. You can see all as well. The drivetrain, normally blocked by the winding system, is visible here. So you can see from the barrel down to the escapement what's often described as the Zenith-style drivetrain, which doesn't use a conventional center wheel, but has off-centered drivetrain to permit a larger mainspring barrel. This is something that Zenith introduced in the late 1940s and became almost universal in the industry. That's why center wheel type movements tend to be anachronistic manual wind or very old. Now here the movement is a manual wind with a 50-hour power reserve, a 4 hertz beat rate. It pivots on 20 joules, and it does have a stop seconds function, so you can set it to a reference time. It's part of the Zenith Elite family, and it has handsome, if mostly machine-applied finishing. You can see that there's beveling on the edge of the bridges. The screw heads are all black polished. There's satination on the wheels, engine turning on the base plate, stripes or Cote de Genève across the bridges, and then a lovely solarization atop the barrel, and all of this is water resistant down to 50 meters, which is more than the dress watch standard of 30. Reach out to tmosso@thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details from a true manufacturer product by one of the great manufacturers in history.